Hello and welcome back to the GorillaBiker, and today what we have is another bike from Freeman Motorcycles, the 2019 BMW F850 GS. Now, I've already ridden this a bit. We're back to our standard first rides, which is great. I am pleased, and it's a lovely bike, so I'm really excited to get out on the road and actually talk you through a few bits. What we'll be covering today is the usual ergonomics, power and handling, braking and suspension, extras of which there are quite a few. This is the GS exclusive, so it has many bits on it, and then, you know, overall thoughts and a bit of a summary. So if you've any interest in this bike, or if you just want to see bikes being ridden around nice roads, stay tuned and we'll get straight into it. So first, what I want to talk about is the ergonomics on this bike, and they are comfortable, even for someone as large as myself. So as you can see, you have a nice big broad foot peg here, which is your kind of your off-roady foot peg, and a lovely big rear brake pedal, which is honestly, it's just a nice place to be with your legs and your feet. I'll show you me sitting on the bike soon and you'll get a sense of that, but one thing that you're going to notice probably is how tall this thing is. So just for background, I am 6'7" or 200 centimeters tall, and I weigh about 126 kg at the moment, or around 270 pounds. So that will give you an indication of how tall this bike is. It really is a big machine. So just to show you, so don't be too blown away by how graceful I am. But as you can see, I can flat foot this, comfortably flat foot this, but it is definitely a big tall bike. And one thing I noticed when I was turning it earlier is it is a little bit challenging sometimes on certain ground types to turn it around, because obviously I didn't find this lovely spot for videoing straight away. I did have to go about it a bit. But as for sitting on the bike, I'm quite comfortable. I just put my right leg up here free. Like, that is my leg angle, which is very comfortable, I have to say, and the bars and everything else. It's actually quite reminiscent of the S1000XR that I recently test rode, which was my uncle's bike, but it is quite reminiscent of that in the whole seated department, you know what I mean? It's very similar, but it definitely has a more spacious seating position for the larger folk. But just off the bat, ergonomics, quite comfortable, and hopefully me sitting on it gives you a sense of that. Anyway, now we're going to go out onto the road and talk more about ergonomics. Okay, so we're on the bike now. Just for ergonomics immediately, I'm sitting, nice relaxed position. I can get my legs up onto the pegs very easy. And just to start, there you go, nice and easy. Let's, oh yeah, my side stand. There you go, good safety feature to the bike. I find, even like I'm using the rear brake now, just hanging on it. I find this bike very comfortable to ride. I will be doing most of this video, or all of this video, in dynamic mode. You do have, like I said, rain mode, road mode and enduro mode, but I like dynamic, and we're on the road, so I don't need to use enduro. Now, straight off the bat, I want to talk about this seat, because it is mesmerizingly comfortable. There's the down quick shifter. It is honestly one of the comfiest seats I've ever sat on. It is like, I assume there's some of that gel in there, because it is so comfy. Okay. And honestly, when I'm on the bike, just riding along the road, the relaxed setting, where the seat and the bars and everything else puts you, it's just unbelievable. I do also have to talk about the quick shifter for ergonomics too, because it's just, it makes riding it so easy. Like, I don't need to move my left hand, which, look, I know oh hello doggy, it's a minor thing really. You don't need a quick shifter, but it is certainly a nice to have. Definitely a nice to have. Like I mentioned as well, you have this up and down screen you can move. I have noticed the bike is loud-ish for someone my height, but I can only assume, because when I duck, I'll show you now. So right now, if I just duck forward like this, honestly, that screen blocks everything. So, like, it is dead silent right here. So I can only assume if you're slightly shorter than me, which is realistically what this bike is designed for, this bike is honestly probably quiet as a mouse. So if I was to put a taller screen on here with all this extra screeny bits you have there, I think this thing would be unbelievably quiet and comfortable for you. Without going on too long, the foot pegs are super comfy. Both the gear shifter and the rear brake, super comfy. Handlebars, super comfortable. Brakes are, everything is positioned nicely, would say. The mirrors, actually, I honestly, when I first sat in the bike, I thought they were a bit useless, but with a bit of adjustment, they're not so bad. They're not the best mirrors in the world, but any handlebar mounted mirrors, I've never personally gotten on with too well. But they do work. They work well. I can see behind me fine in them, so really can't complain too much there. And obviously, we have to talk about this screen. So out on the road, it is so easy to read. You know, you can, if you're comfortable doing it, you can cycle through stuff so easily as well. You know what I mean? The up button on the menu, you can just scroll through what you have, MPG wise, riding time, overall mileage, overall average speed, your tire pressures, and your distance until you need to fill up, which is a nice one. And just on the road, like even rougher sections of the road, this thing just handles so well. I have not felt like out of sorts on this bike once yet. It's just, it handles everything so nicely and it's so comfy. It's by no means a sportier bike, but it is, I would imagine, an absolutely supreme touring bike. It's nice and light. You can just throw it into corners as well. Like obviously with these tires, I wouldn't want to throw it too hard into corners maybe, but comfort wise, honestly, I have to give this thing like a 10 out of 10. It is so comfy, and I am still wearing my bag. If I didn't have my bag, if I had like the boxes on this, I can imagine it'd be even comfier still. So yeah, this gets a 10 out of 10 for comfort from me. So next, let's talk about power and torque off this thing. It comes in at 95 horsepower or 70.8 kilowatts at 8,250 RPM and 92 Newton meters or 67.9 foot-pounds at 6,250 RPM. Now what this actually means in real terms is this is a very rideable bike. Obviously it's a 6-speed gearbox. This particular one, this model, has the up and down quick shifter, which is immense out in the road. And obviously power is delivered by chain drive. So it's very normal, say, power delivery. I would liken this to very similar to the Africa Twin, which we'll talk more about on the road. But honestly, again, power and torque are really nice for the road, Irish roads. So you know, you can get up to motorway speeds, absolutely no problem. Very quick with the quick shifter, and also it can sit at that speed very comfortably too. So overall, I would say that this is a very manageable bike power wise. It's not going to rip your arms off, but it's also definitely not slow, as you'll see momentarily. I thought this place would be quieter, but anyway, it's very hard to find a quiet spot to film. You know, the bike revs up quite nicely, as you know, obviously peak power being delivered up at nearly 10,000 revs. So you do have quite a nice broad rev band, and power is delivered quite smoothly throughout it. There's no jerks and anything else. You know, this is a parallel twin 853cc, I think. So it's quite a nice engine. It sounds quite nice, even with the stock exhaust. And if you've watched this channel before, you know how I feel about stock exhaust. But it does still deliver power quite nicely. So again, we'll talk more about that when we're out on the road, but just the basics, you know, 95 brake horsepower and 92 Newton meters of torque. So it's a very well balanced bike, is what I will say. Very well balanced bike, and I have been enjoying riding it so far. Anyway, we'll talk more about that when we're out on the road. The big question, the one that everyone always cares about when it's a bike, the power and the torque. And it goes! Like, for a bike that has 95 horsepower, this is by no means a super powerful bike, but like, over the little hill, with the quick shifter and with the way the suspension moves around, it just feels so dynamic. It feels so sporty when you get on it, which is hilarious, because I mean, as soon as you ease off and just sit back, now it feels nice and relaxed again. But I have to say, the power and the torque for this bike, if you say, like, you know, scaled for the bike and scaled for the type of riding we're going to do, I'm surprised actually at how nice the power and the torque feel for this entire package. Like, just again, get around here and roll on. I mean, this thing will move, you know, like I could definitely lift the front wheel if I wanted to, but as I've said before, these are not my bikes. But even with these Anarchy 3s, which are not like a road bias sporty tyre, to kind of round off the power and torque section, you know, you got the numbers from me earlier, the 95 brake horsepower, 92 Newton meters of torque. This bike, I think for an 850 parallel twin, designed to be light, designed to be a lot more affordable than the GS, designed realistically for a competitor to the Africa Twin, I think it's very, very well balanced. Yes, it has slightly lower power and torque than the twin, but I mean, from an actual overall rideability perspective, I think they're both very, very, very similar. And at that point, it comes down to, you know, how much you want to spend and what extras you want, I think more so than anything else. What about brakes and handling? And yes, we're back here again. It's amazing how I keep teleporting around, isn't it? So the front of the bike has 43mm upside down forks. These are not really adjustable at all. So they are what they are. They are, you know, as built essentially. And the rear is, it has the dynamic adjustment thing. So this here is your reservoir, this is your spring, and then over here is the actual adjustment unit for the rear right there. So there's plenty of adjustability on the rear suspension of the bike. The front though is what it is. Brakes then, sorry my camera freaked out there for a second. Braking is accomplished by these dual 2-piston calipers right here. I'll be honest, the 2-piston caliper thing surprised me when I got off the bike to look at it, because this does stop well, as you'll see in the road test very soon. The rear then is a single 1-piston caliper, which also actually again accomplishes braking quite well. So these are what are called axial calipers, as in the pistons here, these push from one side, and then as you, I don't know, can you see that? The far side has no pistons at all, so it just pinches the pads together with 2 little arms, basically the pistons push against that. So you would, I always personally, I like 4-piston calipers. They're my favorite. 4-piston radial calipers. I just like how they brake. I would put them on absolutely everything. But for this bike, these brakes work really, really well. You can turn off your rear ABS. I don't think you can turn off the front from what I can tell. I'll show you how to turn off the rear. But all in all, from a braking perspective, it's excellent. I have adjusted the suspension and the obviously bike modes to dynamic, and it works beautifully. You'll see on the brake test the front does dive quite a bit, but this is an Africa Twin Enduro-y style bike, so it's supposed to be soft on the front. It's not supposed to be, you know, a track bike essentially. So I think the softness works. The softness works. And then from your actual brake perspective, we already spoke a little bit about this rear brake, which is really, really nice, very easy to use, very, very full of feedback, say. And then the front brake master cylinder, I don't know, can you see that there? It's quite a tight, strong pull, we shall say, on the front, and it is again actually quite nice feedback wise, considering this is an ABS equipped bike. ABS always does rob you of a bit of the feel. Anyway, so that should hopefully cover us for braking and suspension and handling. You know, obviously we don't have full road biased tires on the bike, and they are a little bit more worn. They're not brand new, but still the handling has been quite nice. Is it my favorite road going kind of enduro-y bike? I'll answer that at the end of the video. Anyway, we'll go back onto the road yet again. We're just here now, right? So I get up to speed here and do a brake test, and we're going hard on those brakes. I mean, you can see how fast that thing stopped. And those are twin 2-piston calipers, let's remember. And it just, like, this thing will stop very, very, very fast. And what I have experienced, what I like about it, is actually, in comparison to the S1000XR, it feels like the ABS is less intrusive. I think I said it in the video, I did find eventually that the XR's ABS did come a little bit intrusive. Brake hard here again, hard and shifting down, and like you can get this thing pretty much stopped in no time at all. It will stand up on the front end. Now that's one thing from the suspension perspective that you need to be aware of. If you brake hard, the front does dive quite a bit, so if that's something that you're not like right now even it's diving. So if that's something you're not used to, that you like a firmer front end, it is something maybe to be aware of because if you're going into a corner and you like riding your bikes a little bit harder, say, and you brake hard here, you do have to let off to let the bike get settled again before you turn in, because obviously if you brake hard and turn in as you're doing that, the front end is going to be unsettled and probably bounce a bit. I haven't tested it really, but I would imagine that is exactly what would happen is as that front end is just kind of fully, maybe not fully compressed, but it's compressed, it's gonna hit you a little bit hard and maybe be a little bit unhappy with you. So that is something to bear in mind if it's something you don't like, that divey front end. But otherwise, the suspension out in the road, and I do have it in dynamic setting, is just so composed, a little bit firmer than road. But to be honest, I didn't notice a huge difference between road and dynamic in the suspension sense. Certainly dynamic is a little bit firmer, but both of them are just so composed. For a bike of this size, it's very tall, so obviously as you move, your center of gravity is quite high up, but it doesn't feel like it. It feels absolutely lovely out on the road. When you ride it on a bit like I am now, if you combine everything I've talked about, ergonomics, power, suspension, oh my god, the suspension over this rough road is amazing. I don't even feel it. Okay, now that is impressive. I'm not gonna lie. Honestly, I'm not feeling this. Like, I know the suspension is working at 1 billion times per second, but it's not affecting me. I'm just as comfortable. There's no jolts, there's no jarring. Yeah, wow. I think this is the best bike I brought up on this little bit of road here. That is absolutely incredible. There's honestly no jolts, no jarring. It's just rolling over those bumps like they're nothing. Extras. This is one of those too many to list. So all joking aside, this honestly is nearly too many to list. You have your pannier racks, your rear top box rack is also there as well. You have full engine bars. You have a quick shifter and a, what are they called again? Auto blipper, which basically means you can go up and down the gears without ever using the clutch. You need the clutch to get you started, that's about it. You have the dynamic suspension on the rear, which is a nice extra, and you have that beautiful TFT screen, which I'll show you in a second. You can also adjust your screen up and down with a little manual handle like that, which is nice. You also have heated grips. You have the fog lights on the front on this bike, daytime running lights, LEDs. Like, it's a really nice bike, to be honest, from an extras perspective, if you're into that. But just to show you the rest of it, so just to cycle through the lights, that is your regular daytime running light is turning on and off here. So that is on, that's off. That's your extra bright one. So you always have an automatic daytime running. This is the brighter one. And then to turn on your fogs, and there you have your LED spot fogs, which are also really nice. So hopefully you can still hear me, but we can swap through our ABS here, which is still not active. So you actually have to ride the bike up till 5 kilometers an hour, I think, first. You can swap through your suspension settings between dynamic and road. We're going to leave it in dynamic. Just turn that off. But your ABS setting, you just have to take my word for it. You can turn on and off your ABS with this button here at the back. But for now, obviously, I'm just going to leave it on. You have this beautiful screen here, the same as is on the S1000 XR and RR, that you can cycle through with this left-hand thingy here. Now, this obviously doesn't have navigation hooked up or media, but you still have your vehicle information by going, hit the menu button down. You can see how much fuel you have left, your battery, your tire pressures once you actually start moving again, coolant temperature, you know, your journeys, etc. Oh, by the way, this bike has 10,964 kilometers on it. It'll have a little bit more at the end of the video. So basically, you have everything you could want, and you can see your average consumption there is 46.3 mpg, which is very good, considering with the quick shifter. I'd imagine this bike here would actually push you to ride it a little bit faster. I'm just going to check the price of this bike, 1 second. And so this bike with all these extras is on sale for $13,950 in Freeman Motorcycles in Clonmel. I'll leave all the information in the description, you can get there. But basically, other extras, you also have keyless start, you have cruise control, and like I said earlier, the quick shifter up and down, and you have your riding modes. Our riding modes are dynamic, enduro, rain and road. I don't know, can you see that? But they're right down there, swapping through them. I'm going to leave it in dynamic because I like dynamic. Basically, if you're someone who's into their extras, then this bike kind of has most of what you could possibly want. It has, you know, nice lighting. It has, you know, your quick shifter, your TFT screen, all that good stuff. This bike has it. And I have to say, it makes for quite a nice riding experience, even with this style of bike, which obviously I'm fond of my sportier bikes, but this is quite nice. Anyway, let's get back out onto the road for the final look, and then we'll stop and talk about it and do a little summary, see what I think. Extras out on the road. So what you've seen me use already during this video is my quick shifter up and down, my brakes, my ABS. We also have heated grips. You can turn off your rear ABS like I talked about. But honestly, out on the road, I think the main extra that I would personally notice, or the main two extras, is definitely that up and down quick shifter and that TFT screen. Not that the TFT screen is even an extra, I'm just calling it one because it's kind of like, it's very bloody nice. One thing obviously that would be nice, I think, for more regular sized humans is the adjustable screen as that comes with these, and all this extra plastic stuff around here covering you, because it just makes the wind, it keeps the wind off a little bit more, which is very, very nice. For me, I will say that this bike buffets a little bit, or not buffets is the wrong word, it's loud. It's very loud out in the wind for a taller human person. But I mean, overall, I can't complain. Let's just change the mode here, because this is another extra. So you have to open the throttle, close the throttle, and we're in road. See, does it get any more comfy? Can we change the suspension? We're in road suspension, yeah. So I mean, okay, that is a bit softer. But you know, all of the extras that come with this bike are kind of phenomenal. You know, I can turn on and off my fogs, which honestly, it's something I'd love on my own bike at night. You have the crash bars on this, the engine bars. You have all your pannier mounts and your top box mounts. So really, if you were to get this particular model, the exclusive, and I think this is all the exclusive stuff, you're pretty much set to go. All you need to do is throw on your panniers, throw on your top box, and you can pretty much tour wherever the hell you want, because I can tell you, touring on this bike would definitely be a dream. If it sips fuel, 46 miles per gallon. I'll throw that up in litres per 100 kilometers on screen as well. So it doesn't use much fuel. It's super comfy on the road. I'm very, very, very confident on it already, and I haven't ridden it that much. But it's just a lovely, lovely bike, lovely place to be, and all the extras just kind of add to that. But just something that actually I forgot to do is standing up on this bike. I did do it earlier. Standing up on this, same as the Africa Twin, you could stand up on this all day long. It is so nice, so easy to stand on thanks to those pegs, which obviously is something that a lot of people who buy this bike are probably going to be doing. So that's just something that I thought I should probably mention. That's kind of it. I'll turn it off in a second, but that is the exhaust note. I don't know, did you get to hear that yet? So that is the completely stock exhaust. Very, very nice. I have to say, I really, really like this bike. More than I thought I would, to be honest, because I don't know, I think it might be that rubbish. I really hate seeing that so much. Such a nice area and people doing that. Anyway, focus on the review, Michael, not the people who infuriate you. One thing actually I didn't mention is this also does have a center stand. I actually tried it out earlier. Quite easy to get the bike up and onto it. It's not very heavy. It's overall as a package, this is a lovely, lovely motorbike. Just to run through it, it's really, really comfortable. It's probably one of the most comfortable bikes I've ever ridden, and it's a lot to do with this seat. It's so soft and pliable, and just seems to shape to me, but being firm enough that over, you know, rough roads and stuff, I'm not feeling all those like punches. It's really nicely done, which I suppose we should expect from BMW, seeing as they're a premier manufacturer at this point. But yeah, so ergonomics, look, it's comfortable. The only thing I would say is if you're shorter, there is a bit of a reach moving the bike around off obviously the side stand and stuff, so you might want to just move it when you're standing on the ground in harder to reach areas. But for taller people, it's perfect. You can flat foot it. It's quite light. You know, it doesn't obviously have a huge big extended fuel tank on it like a lot of the 1250 GSs and stuff. To be honest, if you were to ask me, do I want a 1250 GS or one of these, I would go for that because it's lighter. I prefer a lighter bike. In Ireland, I might change my mind if I lived in mainland Europe or something. But for Ireland, this one is the bee's knees. Power and torque, look, it's not the most powerful bike in the world. It's not going to set the quarter mile alight or anything like that. It's not going to win races, but that's not what it's for. What it's for is just going out, enjoying yourself, and, you know, being comfortable enough to handle anything the road throws at it, which it does. The quick shifter makes it fun. You know, you feel like you're going fast even when you're not. So the quick shifter honestly does so much for this bike, just while it's maintaining its own power, like not mad power, you know, not gonna rip your ears off or whatever else, but it does enough for it that it's just nice. It's just a nice balanced bike. What else? Suspension and handling. Those brakes impressed me more than I thought they would. They're not going to put your face through the windscreen, but they will stop you, and stop you bloody quickly, so not something you need to be concerned about for certain. Suspension is lovely. The front end does dive a bit under hard braking, something to be aware of if you aren't fond of that. And the rear suspension is it's unreal, and it was the same. Every BMW I've ridden with that dynamic suspension control thing has been the same. It just seems to adapt to your weight and stuff, and is just absolutely perfect. And, you know, obviously then with the extras, there's everything you could want on this bike. You know, you got your engine bars, you got your spotlights, you got your LED lights, you got your LED indicators, you got, you know, your dynamic control suspension, your TFT screen, your cruise control, heated grips, everything. It's a very well sorted machine, which obviously is nice too. One thing I would change as an extra, if I bought this, I would change this, just because the weight that must be in that, with the bread box and this big canister, I would probably look to change that to put something a little bit lighter on it, a little bit nicer sounding. But I know that's pretty much a personal choice, and to be honest, the bike does sound quite nice with that on it, so not something that you need to, you know, get rid of straight away. The other only negative I will have for taller people is this screen. So that's its lower setting, which is loud for a tall person, and that's its higher setting, which is loud for a tall person. But like I said, if I duck and I actually get down behind the screen like a shorter individual might be, I don't hear anything. It's actually dead quiet back there, and it's a lovely place to be. So for taller individuals, it might be just a case of putting on a taller screen here, and then you could move it up and down to your heart's content. One thing that I haven't mentioned yet, that I forgot to mention earlier, is aesthetics. And so I'm going to cover it now, and I really think it's nice. So the gold forks, the gold wheels, and the paint job, I think is really, really nice. Is it the best looking bike in the world? In my opinion, no. But it is good. It is very nice. If I had to rate it a 10, I'd say 7 out of 10. The paint, like the finish, is excellent. So the finish on the bike is absolutely unbelievable. This textured plastic here is really nice, and then this finish on the tank cover, really, really nice. The seat is beautiful looking as well. I love that texture on it. And one thing I will say is this stainless bars and stuff really fit the bike well. You got the different color engine plate as well, which is also lovely. But the standout features for me definitely are red accent, red spring, and then the gold accents and gold wheels. It just fits together well. You know what I mean? It's just a nicely finished bike. And again, from BMW, that's what you'd expect for the price you pay for a bike like this. It really has to be that nice, because if it wasn't, there would be problems. But overall, is it a bike I would buy? Yes, if I was in the market for something like this, absolutely, this is a bike I would buy. No doubt, it's lovely. It's a much better price point, in my opinion, than the 1250 GS, because it will do everything the 1250 will do. For most people, obviously, if you want that little bit more power or whatever else, or you go up a lot, then maybe the 1250 GS is a better option. But this, definitely capable of carrying a pillion, plenty of power there. with the dynamically adjustable rear suspension as well. You could load it up and just go off into your heart's content. This is a really well sorted bike, and I would buy it. Would I buy it over an Africa Twin? I don't know. It would really, I think what would happen is if I was buying this, it would come down to, you know, warranties and stuff. Obviously, me as someone who looks after my own motorbikes, I would likely go with the Honda because they're easier to maintain. But that's only a reputation thing. I don't know. I've never worked on one of these. I don't know is it easy to maintain. But purely off reputation, I might go with the Honda. And personally, when I rode the Honda Africa Twin recently, I think I just preferred the overall package of the Honda. I think it just suited my riding style a little bit more on the road. But that's not to detract from this. That's not to say this isn't an amazing bike. It is, and I would buy one. If one of these came up for the right price, with all these extras on it, and you know, full luggage versus an Africa Twin that didn't have full luggage, and they were similar price or whatever else, similar usedness, I'd go for that. I'd go for that. It is a lovely, lovely bike. But for me, I personally would pick the Africa Twin over this. Like I said, nothing wrong with the Africa Twin, or nothing wrong with this over the Africa Twin. I would just pick the Africa Twin with less extras, but more other things. And I prefer the look of the Africa Twin and the serviceability. But to be honest, look, I don't know. If you held a gun to my head, I probably couldn't pick right now, because it's a lovely bike, and I do have a problem with liking bikes. If you have watched, thank you very much for watching. Like I said, this bike is available from Freeman Motorcycles. All their details are in the description. The link to the bike on Dundee is in the description. If you want this one, give them a ring. Let me know in the comments, do you like it? Let me know in the comments, would you consider buying one? Let me know in the comments why you wouldn't buy one. Just let me know. Let me know what you think. As always, very special thank you to all my patrons. I hope you enjoyed this one with the nice roads again. I actually love test riding bikes down here because it's such a nice area too. And yes, until next time, thank you again for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. Adios. Outro crew. Let me know what ye think. Let me know what you think, because the outro crew, I have noticed it's the same people all the time, even for these reviews. So what do you think of this bike, and would you take one of these over an Africa Twin? Personally, if you were to say to me, hey, do you want to buy a 1250 GS or one of these? Honestly, 100% that every day of the week. It's way cheaper, and I mean, it does all the same things, just maybe slightly slower, but it's way lighter. So yeah, that for me every day of the week. And I think it's a good looking bike. It's just, I don't know. Nah, it's a good looking bike, isn't it? It is. God damn it, why am I so easy for bikes? You'll win me over too easily. One of these days I'll find one I don't like, but it's not you, 850 GS. Anyway, bye.